Hooday to all those who celebrate. It's a great time to be a Bengals fan. We have officially made it to the 2025 NFL Draft. Back with another episode of Gridiron Jungle with your two favorite Bengals fans. You can see we are together in person this time. I'm Rich here with my brother Bengals Phil. We're not gonna call you Philly Phil on NFL related draft day. So Bengals Phil, how you feeling, man? We're in Vegas.
I'm feeling great, man. Can't be better. It's it's 9 a.m. here in Vegas, so getting the day started right, pushing this draft content out, and ready to get after it and enjoy the day and see what this first round goes like.
Absolutely. Looking forward to obviously first time recording together, but also first time using a background screen. We promise you that we will have our live first round mock draft as well as the 7th round Bengals draft as well. So we'll have that with a little bit of a contribution from someone who's here might be a Giants fan the whole nine. But either way, Phil, we've had some time since our last mock draft. How are you feeling between then and now as far as your selections? And now that we're here on round one and getting things kicked off, do you feel like your first round pick might even still be there?
Yeah, I mean, I think my first round pick will still be there simply because in the mock that we did, I actually traded back. So I think not only would my player that I took in the mock be available, I also think my biggest draft crush, Walter Nolan, who we see mocked most to the Bengals, I think he's going to be available there.
I'm worried, man, because I've been seeing more mocks of him going higher. Like people are really catching up to how good he is.
I have seen a mock with him. I think as high as 8, maybe. So it'll be interesting. So.
Yeah, we're gonna see what's going on. We're gonna see how this works completely. But as you can see, we are definitely going to be going through our first round, and we can start now, I guess. No perfect time, no need for suspense. First round pick as we enter this draft. The Titans are on the clock. It is no surprise. No suspense left anyway. Cam Ward is going to be going to the Tennessee Titans with the number 1 overall pick. What do you think about him and the fit for him?
Honestly, I think it's a great fit. I think Callahan is the type of the coordinator who is going to be able to kind of build a system around a quarterback's strengths. And I mean, by no means am I saying Cam Ward is Joe Burrow or anything like that, but I think he's that style of quarterback. I think you can use the type of system that he was successful with, and I think with the recent addition of Tyler Lockett, and you still have Calvin Ridley. You have Tony Pollard, so he's got some weapons. Chiggs, the tight end, is still there. So I think if they can add some more playmakers around him, I think the Titans have their guy with Cam Ward. I love the pick and I love the fit. I think it's a great decision.
Yeah, and him coming from Washington State, we knew he was good. We knew he was a coveted transfer, and then Miami, I think, solidified him as a QB1 that at least deserves a shot. We'll see how it goes. I think he has the right work ethic in order to be successful. That's the big thing that I look for in quarterbacks. The rest of the stuff, because quarterbacks have so many intangibles that you can't teach that makes them good and separates them. And I think he possesses all of those. He's competitive. He has some fire. He wants to be number 1. And we'll see if the coaching staff around him. Now, obviously we're familiar with Callahan, as you mentioned. So I'm not sure if they're going to tailor some things around him to maybe take advantage of his mobility. But I don't think he's not a Lamar type where I think somebody tried to compare him to Lamar, which I feel like they always do. But he's not that type where his mobility is more useful on the run. He still wants to throw it first, but he can take off on you if possible. But it's going to be interesting. And Chig, you mentioned him. He's the reason I haven't gotten rid of him in fantasy yet.
That's fair.
I've been wanting to drop him. In our dynasty league, I have 6 tight ends on the roster, and was looking to trade Chig. I'm like, you know what? I think he might have a good year with Cam. That safety valve, and like you said, the running back situation. We're gonna see what happens, man. But Cam Ward going number 1.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on what you said about the work ethic, Cam Ward was a 0-star, 1-star coming out of high school.
Yeah, 0-1. Yeah.
I mean, to go from that to the number 1 pick, I mean, that's just a true testament to that work ethic that you spoke on, the type of person that you want to lead in charge. So
absolutely. So here's the thing with the Browns at number 2. So this is where the draft gets interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I believe there's 2 options. I think the best player in the draft or best player available at this point is Abdul Carter.
Absolutely.
And I think that the most unique 2-for-1 pick. Ryan Clark was talking about this. Shout out to Corey. Ryan Clark was talking about the 2-for-1 pick of a cornerback and a receiver. And if you were going to take someone, if you're going to take Travis Hunter in the top 3, you need to let him play both because he's not elite enough. Well, I don't know if he said elite, but pretty much said I don't know if he's worth like a top 3 pick at just one position, but he definitely is if you're playing both. What do you think the Browns do here?
If it were me, I would go with Abdul Carter and put him on the.
You're the one making this choice. You're the GM for a day
for sure
for the Browns for the first round at least.
For sure. I would take Abdul Carter. However, I personally think the Browns are going to take Travis Hunter. I think they're in love with the player, and honestly, I think we've alluded to it since we've been on this trip talking draft. I think the Browns I think the Browns are a candidate to potentially trade back into the first round and try to get Shedeur if he slides. So I can truly see a scenario where the Browns end up with Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders. Like I really could see that happening today.
Do you see? So we're using PFF, folks, for those who are watching on YouTube or aren't watching on YouTube. Do you see the possibility of them trading down from that spot?
I think there's a chance, but I haven't heard enough rumblings that a team would want to trade up to 2.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So
so if you can't see my screen, it does show some of the teams that might be interested in trading up. The Patriots with the 4th pick, Panthers with the 8th, Bears with the 10th, Cowboys 12, Miami 13, and I don't think they're going to accept anything past Atlanta at 15. I don't think they're going to go from to the 20s unless they're getting multiple ones, maybe this year and next. And I don't see anybody giving that up. So to your point, New England's interesting because I could see New England moving up to get Carter. I could also see, I don't know how they're going to pull it off or what where they draft this year. I could also see the 49ers. I actually saw a mock recently that the 49ers actually moving up to 3 to get Carter if he fell there.
Interesting.
But I don't think they give up too many assets because they need to get his young rookie contract, as many of those as they can.
Absolutely.
So it'd be hard for them to do that. But if Carter's sitting there at 3, I could see them rolling the dice and saying, you know what, he's going to prolong him and Bosa, which is why I think that the Browns should draft Carter, but I'm with you. They're going to draft Travis Hunter. We'll see how it works out.
Absolutely.
We'll see how it works out. So we'll go ahead and put him at the 2 spot. I don't know. As a Bengals fan, I know we're happy that they're not going to pair up Garrett and Carter. I'm cool with it.
Yes.
This is the best case scenario for me, so I'm good. We got the 3rd spot. Big Cord.
Yeah.
Giants. 3rd spot, man. What they doing? What you want? You want them traded? Do you want them to keep that pick and take?
No, I'll tell you the ideal scenario for me is whoever Cleveland takes, I'll take the opposite. So if they go Hunter, I'll take Carter. If they go Carter, I'll go Hunter. And then there's 2 interesting scenarios that I see. One is we're going to probably dump Thibodeau draft day, probably 2nd or 3rd round, or 4 2nd or 3rd rounds. We've got multiple 2nd round picks, so we can maneuver there. We've got a high 3rd. So what I think actually happens is we'll trade back up into the 1st round with a Thibodeau and some high 2nd or 3rds, either 25 or 26, and we'll take the quarterback that's there. So whether it be Shedeur, if it's high enough, Dart, or Milroe, that's how I anticipate it going. And if that does not happen, I do think that the Bengals and Giants engage in a trade on draft day. I think we'll dump Thibodeau for I think you guys have 81, pick 81.
Yeah, we do. We do.
I see us moving and swapping those 24-year-old, 11.5 sacks last year, not committed long-term, makes under $10 million, young defensive piece, because I think that you guys will end up jumping Trey, and I think it's a plug and play from there. So that's my 2 cents.
That's more than 2 cents. That's a solid quarter.
For sure.
Appreciate you, big quarter. All right, man. Let's keep it moving. We got the 4th pick of the 1st round. Patriots on the clock. Mike Vrabel, is now the head coach with the Patriots. Who are they going with number 4? What do you think?
Man, I think there's a lot of different directions that they could go based on who's the board here. You've seen some recent rumors about them being interested in Genty. I don't think that makes sense with them having Ramondre Stevenson and having the needs that they do have.
Yeah, maybe a trade back candidate. But
I definitely think they could be a trade back candidate just based upon needs. But I don't even know if this is a need. Mason Graham, like, really is a Mike Vrabel type player, in my opinion. But honestly, I could see Will Campbell going off the board here to New England. I think Drake May needs that enforcer that's going to take care of him, is going to protect his blind side and be there for as long as he's there. You know what I mean? And I think Will Campbell is a can't miss prospect, even though some people like the other tackle there, but I think Will Campbell is definitely
we'll clock him there. We'll clock him there because I do think that he's going to be the best fit. Vrabel, knowing his mindset, working in the trenches. I don't know if there's really a defensive player that is. I'm not saying they're not going to be worth it picking number 4. They just don't feel like they're worth it today.
Mm-hmm.
So it's either trade back and get maybe an interior lineman or something like that, or you go ahead and take Campbell to protect May for the remainder of his career and kind of pair them up. I think that's a good fit. I'm not mad at that at 4. That is a perfect move. So with that being said, we're going to move on to the Jacksonville Jaguars. You mentioned the name every mock draft. Until recently, there's been a couple shakeups just to be interesting. But almost like those early mock drafts of Genty going to the Cowboys at 12, Mason Graham at 5 to the Jags has been pretty consistent. They need interior help. I don't see them taking Tet with what they just found in Brian Thomas. He's not that kind of player, wide receiver. I think they trust Strange enough to where I'm not going to take Warren. I could see that happening, though. Don't get me wrong. I would not be shocked if tonight, when the 5th pick comes in, it's Tyler Warren. Like, I could see that happening, even though I don't think it will. But it seems like Mason Graham would be the obvious pick here. You got any opposition to that?
Yeah, I'm not opposed to that pick. I think it's a great pick. I think he's Corey back here will tell you that Mason Graham is the best player in this draft. And, I think that's a perfect place to go and show and prove that you are. If you can help anchor and turn around that defense, then I definitely think that's a great look there. The only thing I will say is they brought in a new head coach that's offensive minded, so I could see him taking Warren or an offensive player like you said, but
it will not shock me.
I'm definitely in alignment with the Mason Graham pick.
Yeah, we talked about the Bengals, but I do think that the Jags, not the Bengals. We talked about the Browns, but I do think the Jags could also shake up this draft as well,
for sure,
with that 5th pick,
for sure.
Picking number 6, where we are right now, Las Vegas Raiders.
Absolutely.
Genty, is it happening?
I don't know. I mean, you think you've got who's Zeus? You've got who's Dylan Loeb. So I mean, they definitely need a running back. They've got a lot of needs, really. I mean, Pete Carroll. I don't know what type of program he's going to want. Or I'm sorry, not what type of program. I know what type of program he's going to want to build, but you know the style of players that he likes. So they have their quarterback situation figured out with the acquisition of Geno. So now you got to give them some weapons. So could it be Tet to pair with Bowers and Jacoby Myers? Could they be the team to take the first corner off the board with a Will Johnson or a Jahdae Barron? I don't know. I really don't know. I could see a team maybe trading up to 6 to get Genty. And then they also signed another running back. I'm trying to remember.
Mostert.
Raheem Mostert. So
who's like 38.
Yeah.
Playing running back, man. Impressive. Trying to get his Frank Gore on.
What do you think they're gonna do?
They got a ton of running backs. I'm looking at their depth chart right now. Mostert, White, Lowe, Spiller. You got Jacoby and you got Phillips. So that wide receiver 3 spot is interesting because right now you got Jacoby Myers, Trey Tucker, and Kyle Phillips as your starters between the X, the Y, and the Z.
Could they even?
They can entertain Tet. They could definitely entertain Tet. I don't know if you pick Tet before you pick Genty, though.
Right.
I think with Bowers being the solidified number 1 option, I think Genty helps them out, especially Pete Carroll's mindset, more than anything else.
For sure.
Now, the other side of this, how much do you trust your cornerbacks out there?
Yeah, I mean,
Because Will Johnson at number 6 is very, very, very tempting.
For sure. Like, and who's to say, being that they did just make the acquisition for Geno, who's to say that they don't go with Armand Imbu or Imbo, the
I thought about that too.
The tackle from
I thought about
Missouri.
that too.
I could definitely see that, being a fit as well. So I don't know.
This is interesting. I think that they end up going.
I think they go Jensen.
Because who is their tackle? Do they have that down? No. Offensive line. Signed our boy Kappa. I forgot that.
Yep, he's gonna be a starting guard for them.
Munford. I'm gonna go ahead and go with Genty. It just makes sense for Pete Carroll.
Yep.
I can see them using him, even though he's not Marshawn, but not the same size at least.
Yeah.
But I can see them using him the same way. I'm going to go ahead and take Ashton Genty at pick number 6. It's interesting. We'll see how that works out. Could be completely wrong there, but now we're at number 7 with the Jets, Jets. They need a lot of stuff.
They sure do.
Where are they going with this 4th pick or the 7th pick?
Now, just let DJ Reed walk in free agency. You're gonna have they already paid Sauce, or they're getting ready to pay?
No,
Sauce,
they're gonna get ready to pay Sauce.
I mean, I think it makes sense for
in the way the cornerback market has been with Horn, Surtain, Stingley, and somebody else just got signed. Buddy from not Carolina. Yeah, somebody else too. I can't remember.
And then also, new head coach, also former DB. So, I definitely could see him going that route.
Will Johnson route?
Yeah, Will Johnson, or even or even Jahdae Barron. A lot of people think Jahdae Barron may be the first cornerback to go off the board, being that Will Johnson didn't test the way that didn't test. So we have to be able to kind of confirm that. So,
do you see any possibility of them taking Tet or taking Tyler Warren here at 7?
I definitely. You know what?
Because I like the Will Johnson idea.
I honestly think that this may be where you see Tyler Warren go off the board. I think we could see that for sure.
I'm in agreement with you, man. I think that we go ahead and get him going, and we get Tyler Warren off that board. See where he is actually. Oh, sure enough, right? Click right on him. Gonna go ahead and take Tyler Warren with that 7th spot. But as we just mentioned, I could see Will Johnson going to the Raiders or the Jets. I think that's a perfect range for him. Now we're at pick number 8. Now this is interesting because the Panthers have come out and said that we're open to trading this. This is a high trade candidate. So I want to go ahead. Let's take a look. I'm not going to play that. We'll just play it straight out because I don't have any scenarios in my head right now, and I don't want to take up too much time trying to consider them. But it feels like the obvious answer here is get the X receiver and get Tet. Dave Canales' offense needs an X. It thrives off an X. Bryce Young, you want to have as many targets for him as possible. I'm still holding out on Jatavian Sanders, another one of the tight ends on my dynasty team.
And who else do you have from that offense? You still
Bryce
have
Young.
Xavier Legette?
Yeah, I got Xavier Legette as well. So there's still going to be a lot to be said about him and what he's got to offer. With that being said, Thielen's still there, even though he's on his last legs, and I say that respectfully because he's still producing. But it could just go off a hill at any moment. Tet just makes sense for this team and what they want to do. I could see them going defense. You could see them going Mike Green. I just don't know if you go Mike Green at 8. You 100% trade back because there are like a nice cluster of defensive ends. They need an edge rusher. I could see them going interior as well. But I think Tet is just the only decision that they make with the remaining picks.
I think Tet makes sense. The only thing that gives me hesitation there is just how bad Steve Smith, the Carolina Panther legend, talked about Tet. But I definitely think it's a fit. You want to give Bryce Young those big body receivers. I think that's what he needs to pair with Xavier Legette, to pair with that run game. So I think it's a great pick for them.
Yeah, listen.
If they stay there.
And that's the big thing, y'all. I really think that they're gonna move back. I just think that I just think it makes sense for them to trade back and get somebody else. They're gonna be a lot of good players. They're not as we know, they're not a player away. So I think they can afford to go ahead and do that, get some assets, keep building,
Mhm.
and take it from there with the new regime.
For sure.
Slow but sure. So number 9, it gets interesting because there's been a lot of talks. I was telling Phil before we recorded, I even saw a mock draft that had Jalen Milroe going number 9, which is kind of insane. Shout out to Milroe. But got the Saints on the clock, new head coach Kellen Moore. What are they doing with this number 9 pick?
Man, in my opinion, this is another trade back candidate, just simply because they do have quite a bit of needs, in my opinion. But man, I honestly think, despite all the negative talk that we've read, that we've heard, that we've seen about Shador, I don't know. It just seems like a good fit. But the thing that makes me think that Shador won't go here is the fact that nobody that covers the Saints have talked about Shador going there. So I just don't know if that's likely. I definitely don't think if Milroe were to go 9 to the Saints, that would probably be one of the more surprising picks. But I'm gonna go with the surprising pick here. And maybe this is just me hoping that this happens so that he doesn't slide to the Bengals. But I'm gonna say Mykel Williams goes right here in 9.
Okay. Okay. That would be, and not surprising, but I can see them doing their own work. I don't think I've seen him mocked there yet, so that's pretty interesting. Mykel Williams, they can use him. Once again, they're not a player away, so they just need to take best player available, in my opinion. I don't see them drafting a running back at that position. They need to figure out quarterback, but I don't know if I never really understood the concept of we need a quarterback, so we have to take one that's drafted. Like, I'm perfectly fine with, you know what, let's build a piece.
Yep.
Let's get a piece. We still might be trash. Pick high again. Take a quarterback when there's a better class. I think that makes sense. I don't know if you have to get somebody like Shador. Not saying Shador's not going to be a good pro, but if you don't love him,
Right.
You don't love him at number 9, then you don't have to take him. And you don't have to be tied to him. And then there's an extra talk that comes when you draft a quarterback, and are they going to play well? And they haven't figured it out since Breeze left. So they got their own car situation. We'll see what happens. This is a spot with the Bears at 10. Ben Johnson, new head coach. A lot of mocks have had Ashton Genty going here, but now he is gone. He is not on the board. The question is, do the Bears continue with the running back, or do they go elsewhere? They need line help. They can get a DB. What do you think they do with this spot?
Honestly, I think they would love to have Genty here. I think this is a little too rich for a Morion Hampton, and Travion Henderson. I do think this may be a sneaky spot where Malachi Starks could go. He feels like an NFC North Chicago Bears style of safety to me. So I think that would be a viable option. I also feel like, just the way, from watching Hard Knocks and seeing the way that Ryan Pace evaluates players, I could see them going after a Shamar Stewart. You know, he's the type of GM I think that kind of values traits over production, which you hear a lot of talk of around this time of the year. So
yeah,
I could see a Shamar Stewart going there. You know, like I said, those are 2 big-time players, played in big divisions, have, you know, a lot of traits that you look for in 2 positions of need for them. You know, I think pairing Malachi Starks with Brisker, I think is the other safety over there, I think would be a pretty nice situation. Or adding Shamar Stewart to that D line, I think would be kind of enticing as well. What you think?
The Stewart one makes sense. Just because of the depth, they have I forget who they traded for and just signed like last year or the middle of the season.
Sweat, yeah.
And then they also got the rookie, the young dude. Was that the guy from UCLA that they drafted that fell? I don't remember. You remember Hard Knocks? There was that rookie on there that was cooking.
Yep.
I can't remember whose name. Yep. This is not a Bears podcast, but
Shamar Stewart, he can also kick inside as well.
That's what I'm saying, and I could see that happening. Like I said, Hampton, and man, we'll see what you think about this, and then we'll make it, because I like the Malachi Starks. Hampton might be too rich for their blood, but I don't know if Henderson is.
I mean,
with Ben Johnson, I think Ben Johnson's looking at Henderson and saying, well,
I've told you, I think Henderson is the best pass protector in this draft. And, I think if he didn't have the situation where he was splitting carries with Judkins, he'd probably be higher up the chart. So I love Travion Henderson. I don't think it's too rich. And like you said, I think he's a perfect fit in that Ben Johnson offense. You have Travion Henderson and DeAndre Swift. I think that's a really good running back room. So
what do you think? We going Henderson? You might as well shake things up. It's our draft, right?
Yeah.
I think we can go ahead and do Travion Henderson at the Bears at number 10. I just see him fitting with that offense.
I did tell you I think 3 running backs are going to go in the first round.
I did say that. So there's number 2 and number 10, maybe a little bit higher than what we expect. But here we are. Pick number 11. We're here at the 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, this is another trade candidate. Not sure if they're going to be here, but they need everything. 49ers budget, their cap situation, if you've been keeping up with it, it's all over the place. So they need as many young, good rookie contracts, so it really doesn't matter. We just saw the Eagles dominate with their trenches, so maybe they go there, or maybe this could be the perfect landing spot. And I'm going to go ahead and say who they take right now, Phil. I think they go ahead and take Will Johnson.
Okay.
I think they take Will Johnson at this spot because of the value at the pick you're getting them. I don't think anybody's going to see him slide to 11. I can also see them taking Mimbu.
Yep.
I can see them taking Mimbu from Missouri
to surefy that tackle spot for Brock Purdy. Trent Williams is probably going to be retiring here soon.
And you want a young tackle that you can get for cheap while you're about to pay Purdy.
Absolutely.
What do you think? Do you think Mimbu's more of a better fit here or Will Johnson?
I think I'm going to go with Mimbu.
I think so, too. I think it makes sense for this team right now. I think Johnson is a luxury you could have done 2 years ago with the roster you had, but knowing that you have to build, and I'll keep saying this on Blue in the Face, take care of your trenches, make sure you get the best available, and there's a drop-off, in my opinion, after Mimbu, so you're not going to have another chance to get him. So, I think we go ahead and go with Mimbu here. Let's go ahead and draft him. We'll keep it pushing.
Yep.
Shout out to D Hall, man. Shout out to the Cowboys.
Yes, indeed.
Cowboys are on the clock at pick number 12. He used the last site that we used on our he used the site that we used on our last episode. And he said, man, I've been trading like a GM, man. This is addictive. So it'd be dope if he was here to see what he thought. Matter of fact, man, we're doing this live, man. We're just shooting from the hip. Let me see what happens if I call D Hall.
Yeah, we'll tell him who on the board.
It's not been up to.
Tell him who on the board and see who he think they would go, which direction they would go without trading.
Yeah, man. We'll try in real time. It's 12:43 back home. None of it does has a job and responsibilities. Who knows? D Hall, what's happening with you? Happy draft day. You are live on the podcast right now. Hey, I know. I just want to real quick. I knew you were gonna be at work. We at the 12th pick. Cowboys on the clock. Who are you taking? I'll tell you if they ain't on board or not. But who do you want at that 12th spot?
He's there.
Who is it?
Ted.
Nah, Ted. We took Ted at the Panthers. Ted ain't there.
All right. Matthew Golden.
Matthew Golden, you going receiver. All right, my brother. I know you at work. We just wanted to make sure you were on the pod and had your input.
Thank you.
No doubt, man. No doubt. I'll holler at you, D.
All right, D.
See ya.
Peace.
Under 60 seconds. Less than 60 seconds.
Cowboys fanatic. Been a Cowboys fan since forever. We're going to go with Matthew Golden.
I like the pick. I mean,
he's
the type of player Jerry Jones likes.
Stays in the Lone Star State. It might be a steal. He probably should be the first receiver if you're not counting Hunter as a true receiver. He probably should be the receiver that goes before Ted. Wouldn't be surprised if he actually goes before Ted. And Ted is there. But I do think they go receiver. And you're good to go from there. It wouldn't shock me if Jerry said, we're going to take that Hampton fella out of North Carolina.
They need it back.
Yeah, it would not shock me. I think 3 running backs in the top 12 is crazy.
But this could be the year.
This could be the year.
It just flips. The market is changing. So.
Absolutely. So we got the Dolphins on the clock with the 13th pick. They need a little bit of everything.
I'm running the card up to the board. They've been talking about trading Jalen Ramsey. So this is where, in my opinion, Will Johnson goes.
Just makes sense. Doesn't make sense for him not to go any further. Will Johnson just gives me Miami anyway, even though I know he's get that out the way. He is he's from Detroit, isn't he? I think he's from Detroit.
No, sir.
Either way.
No, sir.
Go enjoy that sunshine, my man. So we got Will Johnson at the 13th pick with the Dolphins. Here we are at pick 14 with the Indianapolis Colts, next door neighbors. I've been seeing a ton of mock drafts with tight end.
Yeah, me too.
Do you think they go with the tight end? Do they get the offensive lineman? Do they get their edge rusher? Stewart still on the board, or is he? Did we take Stewart already?
No, Stewart is still on the board. I think if Tyler Warren were here, I definitely think the Colts would go here. I don't know that they like Colston Loveland as much as they do Tyler Warren at this spot. They've got a needed edge. They've got needs at linebackers. Like you said, they have a lot of needs, but I definitely could see him going Colston Loveland here and giving whoever that quarterback is of the future, a reliable target there to pair with that pretty solid receiving core that they have. But yeah, I think tight end makes sense here for them. Colston Loveland. I personally think Colston Loveland is the best tight end in this class. So with Warren going in the top 10, I don't think Loveland going here at 14 is crazy.
I love Colston Loveland. I think once again his ceiling is elite, like elite. He can have a Travis Kelce run.
He can stay healthy.
Yeah, when I saw him in college, not this past year, but the year before, I'm like, oh, I like this guy a lot. I like this pick. I like it for Indy. I think they have other things they need to think about. But I don't know if that's going to be to have Colston Loveland here at this spot. I think he's going to be the best player of the remaining as far as what they need for their team right now. Not overall, just for what the Colts need right now. He's the best player that I like the most. So we're going to go ahead and put Loveland there. At Indy, back-to-back Michigan players. I know Phil is loving it. And here we are at pick 15 with the Atlanta Falcons. They need a few things as well. Where do you see the Falcons going? Do you see them trading this pick? I can see that as a potential trade candidate.
Based on need, I think they could be another potential trade candidate. I don't know, if anyone would want to trade up to 15. I think that's going to be the biggest issue or concern or problem the teams face that are looking to trade down is maybe a team or two that's looking to trade up. So I think at this spot, being that Atlanta didn't go defense first round last year like I thought they should have, I definitely think Mike Green is going to be the pick here. I think he says he's the best edge rusher in this class. I don't believe so. But I do think he's a great fit with Atlanta in that division, playing on turf half of the season, being able to take advantage of his speed on the edge. I think he's the perfect edge rusher for Atlanta at 15. I think Raheem would love to have him.
Yeah, I think it was Green or Stewart is going to be the pick here. And I think that Green makes sense. Like you said, they have to go edge. We haven't really seen so many edge rushers called yet in our mock draft. So that makes perfect sense given the personnel and what they need. Have to go defense. Whatever it is, it has to be defense.
Absolutely.
I don't think they need safety help right now.
Could be a Jahad Campbell.
Yeah, it could be Walker, because to keep Jalen Walker in Georgia or something like that. It would not surprise me. This is a Georgia player. But we're going to go ahead and put, what do we say?
Mike Green.
Mike Green. There we go. Perfect. Mike Green is going to the Falcons. Now we're at 16. We're on the clock with the Arizona Cardinals. I've been seeing a lot of different things, especially with receiver. But with receiver, I've been seeing in mocks, he's not there, which is Matthew Golden. They need some offensive line help. They need some D-line help. They can use some help in the secondary as well. Where do you see them going with this?
Honestly, based on Kyler Murray talking about he want to run more and him already having issues staying in the pocket, having a pocket that he's comfortable in. I've seen this player's value all over the board. I really think Tyler Booker is a likely pick for them here. Put him next to Will Johnson on that offensive tackle there, and
Paris.
I'm sorry, Paris Johnson.
Yeah. Ooh, Cincinnati kid.
Yeah, Cincinnati kid, Old State kid, and I think Tyler Booker is a great fit for Arizona here. They definitely need to continue to solidify that line. I think they've got good playmakers. I think I think they can address the defensive line later in the draft as well as the secondary. So Tyler Booker, to a lot of people, is the best or second best guard in this draft. So I think it makes sense for them.
I can't disagree. They definitely need a line, and I think that's where he needs to go. There's not a lot of elite offensive linemen in this draft, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So once again, if you don't take them now, the drop off between what you get now, between what you're going to get in the second, third round, is going to be tremendous unless you got a guy you really love and the scouting department really loves, so on and so forth. But it makes sense for them to do this, especially when you have what's probably going to be the last year, Connor, but you do have some running backs in the wing, Trey Benson, shore up that offensive line to get better. So it's Tyler Booker out of Alabama going to the Cardinals. Not a sexy pick, but it is a necessary pick. And now we get to the Cincinnati Bengals, the hometown team. Phil, first round pick. We're at 17. What are we doing with everything left on the board? I know the answer. If it's a steal, might as well go ahead and I'll let you do the honors. I'll go ahead and select it right at the top.
There's so many guys on this board that I love. So ideally, I would trade down here. I'd be on the phone with every team I could trying to trade down. But as you stated, my biggest draft crush, he's right there at the top of the board. I think the Bengals go Walter Nolan or Shamar Stewart here if this were the way that things were to shake out. And prayerfully, Walter Nolan is a Bengal because I think he is the best defensive tackle in this draft. That's just my personal opinion. I think he can play every single spot on that defensive tackles, the 3-tech, 4-tech, whatever you need him to play, anywhere. You know, if you need him to play some nose, I think he can do anything. He is a little undersized, but guess what? So was Geno Atkins, and Geno Atkins wasn't Walter Nolan, and I say that respectfully. I think Walter Nolan is an all-pro talent. I think we could look back at this draft and the draft the past and say, how did we get Mims and Nolan at 17? Like, how did that happen?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I really think that I really see that.
I 1,000% agree with you. Like, I'm smiling over here as you're talking because the more excited I get, the more I've been dreading this, and I don't want to put any bad energy in the air. All I'm going to say is I really hope he's there for us at 17. Or would you trade up for him?
No, I just don't think we had the assets to do it.
Gotcha.
I just don't.
We're already short on picks this year.
Yeah, I love him enough to do so in the normal draft.
Yeah,
but I just don't think we had the assets to do it, and we have needs.
Just to play spoiler, we go back up a little bit here. Just to play spoiler, if he is not there at 17, with these remaining players that we have so far, where you want to go?
I would want to go Jahan Campbell. Or I would want to go to Malachi Starks just to keep him from being a Raven.
Okay, fair.
Even though there's a lot of safeties I like in the second and third and maybe even fourth round, Malachi Starks I know I talked about him being an NFC North type safety, but I think that kind of translates to our division as well. I think they're both of the North, AFC and NFC North are kind of similar as far as the style of play. So I would like to see Jahan Campbell if they didn't go Nolan. What about you?
Same. I think I would go Campbell. I still like the Xavier Watts pick in the second round.
Oh, okay.
Which is not in the first round. But I like the idea of him being there. Once again, you can't have that mindset. You can't hope the guys are going to be there because if they're not, it kind of throws off everything. But your backup plan needs a backup plan. It's hard to pass on Campbell here, in my opinion. But I could also see Starks. It's going to be hard to tell because we've seen outgoings offense, but we haven't seen what it's going to look like in the NFL. You're not going to be playing man and all that.
Not as much.
Yeah, not as much. So Starks would be a good help. Barron, I wouldn't be shocked if we did that either.
That'd be nice.
I can see that.
I think that addresses your CB1 problem for sure.
100%, man. So I think that either way, I'm happy with it. That's the whole thing. I love Nolan, and I want Nolan to be there. And if he's there, like you said, we're running the card up. No question about it. But outside of that, I'm still cool with what we get if it's going to be this brand of players, right? So we can go from there and be good. So now we're on the clock with the Seattle Seahawks. They got the 18th pick. Where are they going?
I think this is a good spot for Shamar Stewart. I think, defensive-minded coach, Mike McDonald, You know, he's the type of player I could see in that Ravens defense when he was coordinating it. And they have a serious need on that defensive line, especially at the edge spot. So I think this is a likely landing spot for him. I don't think that they would, you know, take I don't know if there's an offensive lineman that they like enough to take here at 18 with Campbell and Embo off the board, but I don't know. I think Shamar Stewart makes a lot of sense here.
There we go. Shamar Stewart out of Texas A&M going to the Seattle Seahawks at 18. 19, Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the clock. I think we're going to stick with the what do we want to go?
I got a player in mind.
Jalen Walker?
Jalen Walker or Jahad Campbell. Like either one of those guys. Jahad Campbell just seems like the perfect successor to who's the linebacker that's been there forever? Yes, Levante David. He just seems like the perfect player to, you know, spend a year kind of under his wing and just kind of flourishing with that role, taking over that defense. And he seems like the type of linebacker that Todd Bowles loves. You know, he's versatile, can do a lot of different things. And I think he just got some recent good news as far as the medicals are concerned. I think he's going to be ready and clear for camp. So
I like it.
I think Jahad Campbell is like a perfect fit for Tampa there.
I like it, man. Yeah, one of those players, once again, just kind of like I said about the Bengals, whoever you get there, I think they'll work with it and be good. They'll be perfect fit. Are we going to be interested here at 20 with the Broncos, or are we going to take Hampton?
Hampton makes sense.
Makes perfect sense for them. I think Hampton or Travion goes to the Broncos. I think they're taking the first round running back.
Yeah, if Travion was there, I think that makes a lot of sense. And honestly, I think this. I know a lot of maybe nobody has him going this high. I think Buka, is a
Buka's a candidate.
Really strong candidate here.
What about Burden?
I don't know. I think Burden may actually slide out of the first round, honestly.
Okay. Any chance they take It's actually pretty good. I don't know, man. That's a good one. Hampton, Ibuka. I think you go with Hampton. Do they go Judkins? Do they go somewhere else?
I don't think Judkins goes.
He doesn't fit for
I
them.
definitely don't think he goes ahead of Hampton for sure. You know, I know they need more help on the interior versus the edge, but I could see Azaraku going here.
Well, my thing is, you perfect idea. The thing I would say is our defense was already elite. We didn't have that, but we need some running back. And they got running backs in the room, and we know they're going to go ahead and share the rock that Sean Payton does. But I think he's a perfect fit.
And I would love that, and that keep him from going to Pittsburgh.
I was literally about to say, I would love him going here before Pittsburgh takes him off the clock. However, Pittsburgh is at 21. They need a quarterback. Shador's on the board.
Yeah, but with that being said, you know, you've heard rumors of them liking Dart. You've heard rumors of them liking Milroe. And obviously we know they like Shador, and they're all three there. You know, do they take Malachi Starks? Like, does Malachi Starks slide beyond pick 20?
It's hard to believe it, but anything could happen. We mentioned kind of the prime spots of this draft that could shake things up because you don't think players are available that you were expecting.
And you know what? You know, a player who I think probably is going to go right here, and I'm overthinking this, honestly. I think Kelvin Banks goes right here. Kelvin Banks sliding in this far in the draft is kind of crazy, honestly. Same with Jahdae Barron, but I don't know. Jahdae Barron might be a good pick for them. You need all the help you can get going against Jamar T, but I don't know. I think Banks makes a lot of sense for them. I think Hampton would be a pick if he were available there. I think Josh Simmons even is a viable candidate here at 20 at 21 because they definitely need.
So Simmons, Banks, Starks, or one of the quarterbacks. I actually like the Banks. I think they might go. I think they go Banks before Simmons. I have Banks higher on my board a little bit. It makes sense just because they don't make too many tackles like that. And if you see them there at 21, you got to take it, especially if you're not in love with the quarterback. And that's my biggest thing. I don't know if they love any of those three quarterbacks enough. Even though I do see out of those 3 for Pittsburgh, I see Milroe being the pick. Not saying he's better than the other two quarterbacks. I just see him as more of a AOC North quarterback. Chargers at 22.
I think Harbaugh goes and gets his guy, Kenneth Grant.
Kenneth Grant's going?
That's what I think happens there. They need D-line help. He's a Michigan man. I don't think they're going to go receiver after hitting on Ladd. I think they still want to give Quentin Johnson another shot. Obviously, Loveland is already gone. Warren is already gone. I think Kenneth Grant makes a lot of sense here.
I like it. I'm not mad at it. Just because of what you said, the players that I think they want to be there are already gone. They don't trade up to go get them, which I think would be a little bit. I don't know if I'm trading up to 14 to get Colston Loveland. Even though there is a personal relationship there, I don't know if it makes sense from a business standpoint. So I'm going to go ahead and agree with you there. I think they can go ahead and get Kenneth Grant, call it a day. He still gets his Michigan man, as you said, and keep it moving. Now we have the Green Bay Packers hosting the draft this year at pick number 23. I'm sure it's going to go crazy there at Lambeau. But they need some things. We always talk about, I just traded Jordan Love in our Dynasty League because he doesn't have a true wide receiver one. I don't think there's any wide receiver ones left in the draft. I don't know, unless somebody looks at Burden like that, unless somebody looks at Ibuka. He can put up number one, like, numbers. I don't know if he's a clear-cut number one. You might think a little bit differently about him, but where do they go at 23? Do they go receiver? Do they go, hey, Pierce is still here on the edge? Do we go cornerback because we know that Jair Alexander is not going to be here too long? Where do you think they go?
I think they go corner, and I think they go Jahdae Barron. I think he arguably could be the best corner in this draft. And I think he makes a lot of sense here. I think he fits what they like to do, and I think he's the perfect replacement for Jair Alexander if they do decide to move on from him. He can get traded today or over this weekend.
Yeah, makes perfect sense, right? A little bit too easy. What's really crazy is that Stark's still on the board. That's insane to me. And at some point, I wonder what team is just going to say, I'm going to take him just because. Like, I have other needs, but I can't let this guy drop any further. I don't know if the Vikings are one of those teams, but they're picking 24. Where do they go with this pick? They need a little bit of everything. Running backs, they got Jones just extended, but he is not going to be there too much longer. He's what, 30? Yeah, 30. So, he's obviously on the downside of his career, even though he's still putting up numbers, like I said earlier, it's at any moment. But I see them taking Starks here.
I definitely see them taking 24. Starks here. They, they let Cam Bynum go. Harrison Smith is definitely coming to the end of his road. So I think Malachi Starks makes a lot here. And thank God he doesn't get to the Raiders.
Shout out to Harrison Smith, man. Been doing it a long time, man. A long time. Absolutely. But Malachi Starks, it just makes sense. Like you said, that's a run into the board pick. He's still there at 24. You take him. No way I see that happening, but this draft is wacky. Anything can. Here we are with the Houston Texans at pick number 25. They've got Nico Collins. We know Tank is rehabilitating from the terrible injury that he had. Stephon Diggs is going, even though they did trade for Christian Kirk. Do they take a Christian Kirk build type of receiver with Burden at 25, or do they go somewhere else?
I think they take C.J. Stroud's favorite target.
They take Ibuka.
I think they take Ibuka.
That makes sense.
I mean, I think he's the perfect Diggs replacement. Like, to me, he's that type of receiver. In my opinion, if we're excluding Travis Hunter from being a just primary full-time receiver, I think Ibuka is the best receiver in this draft.
Yeah, I'm mad at that. You've been saying that. You've been singing that for a long time. And I think if you read enough mock draft stuff, he's the most pro-ready, as a lot of people have seen.
Absolutely.
He's the one you can plug in right now. And if he falls and goes to a good offense, it's going to be trouble. Man. That's a perfect pick. Honestly, it makes a ton of sense. We have the Rams on the clock now. Who did Tunsil get traded to?
Washington.
Okay, then got you. Yeah, because they do need an O-lineman, but once it's, as we said, maybe that could be a Simmons destination, but it's kind of like Jamar and Joe. There's no way C.J. Stroud's going to be not in somebody's ear saying, hey, my guy is there.
Right, exactly.
Like, take him.
Yeah.
Take him, right?
Absolutely.
So the Rams at 26 is interesting. There have been a lot of reports. I've seen Jackson Dart a lot.
Yes.
I just don't, as much as I like Dart. I'm a Dart fan. I think he's going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying he will have the best career out of all the quarterbacks in this draft, but it wouldn't surprise me if he had the best career out of all the quarterbacks in this draft. I do also think there are other good quarterbacks you can get in the third, fourth rounds. That here's the thing, we know that whoever this is going to be brought along, and they're not going to play right away. Stafford's going to have that job at least 2 more seasons, in my opinion. I don't know if I want to spend a first rounder when I know whoever I take is going to need to be developed. And if I'm Sean McVay, you give me a quarterback for 2 years, I feel confident in whoever we take. So I'm not going to take a quarterback here at 26. What do I do here? I think this is a Josh Simmons destination. It could also be.
I was going to say either Josh Simmons,
Jalen Walker.
I could see
it's going to be Simmons or Walker.
Josh Simmons. I could see Jalen Walker, and I could honestly see Mason Taylor. I think Mason Taylor is a fringe first round talent. He's got that NFL bloodline. And I mean, I think he's a sneaky prospect to slide into the back end of that first round for a team that was interested in Warren or Loveland and wants that like next best guy. I think it's Mason Taylor. Some people may think it's Elijah Arroyo or Harold Fannin. Even a lot of teams have concerns with his size, but I think Mason Taylor could be a pick here. But that defense performed really well. I think they're probably looking to address the offensive side of the ball. And even though it's not sexy, I think Simmons does make a lot of sense here.
I was going to say, I like the Mason Taylor. I think they try to get maybe Ferguson or somebody later.
Helm. I mean, there's a lot of
Gunnar Helm. I think they try to do that, and I think it makes sense for Simmons, as we just mentioned, to take him there at the tackle position. A lot of places they could go. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, Jalen Walker still being on the board, as I mentioned. It's kind of little. I don't know if he's going to get here this late, but we're going to go ahead and put Simmons there. Just passed him up. Tackle out of Ohio State. Address the O-line. Now we are at the Ravens, division rivals. Boo. Hope Goodell forfeits their picks. The same with the Steelers. I just told a Steelers fan today, I hope all your picks are forfeited. They put them in late. Everything else. Do they go Pierce?
Honestly, I think if he's still here, I think they go Devin Azaraku here.
Devin Azaraku from Boston College, yeah. I think that's who Philly's hoping slides to the last pick of the draft. I don't think he does, but I can see that happening and the Ravens taking him because that makes the most sense. We got the Lions at pick 28. Haven't picked 28 in a long time. Lions need to have a few holes that they are trying to address. Obviously, they just lost their offensive coordinator. We'll see what that offense looks like. Still running the 2 running back set. You still have Amon. You still have Jamison Williams, who is up for an extension and is probably going to get paid. So we'll see what happens. Do they try to get an early fix on that replacement, or do they go elsewhere? They already have a very, very solid top 5 offensive line. We saw what happened with Aiden. Is Zadarius Smith signing back? I don't know. He don't want to leave. He with the cash dog. He don't want to leave.
Yeah, I think this is honestly we could see Jalen Walker go here because he could handle that either that edge issue or that linebacker concern that you have. So I definitely think Jalen Walker here makes a lot of sense. We brought his name up multiple times here, and him sliding any further than here, I just don't know if I can see it happening. Like some people have him as a top 5 talent, top 5 on this big board. So I just can't see Jalen Walker sliding any further than this pick here. So I think that's the route that I'm gonna go. What do you think about that?
It's a good question. I think it makes perfect sense. I just said it a pick ago that the fact that Jalen Walker is still here is kind of absurd. It doesn't really make a ton of sense. And I'm going to go ahead and take him. I think Jalen Walker here does make the most. Once again, I could also see edge, but I think that linebacker help on that second level, especially after knowing what Washington did to them in the playoffs. They really need somebody to cover that second level a little bit better. I think their front line is okay, and they just signed Carlos Dansby. Carlos Dansby used to play for the Browns. The safety that led the league interceptions. Kirby Joseph. I'm tripping. Either way, shout out to the Lions, and we'll see what happens with them.
Sure.
Not shout out as far as I want them to win the Super Bowl because obviously the Bengals, but I do like the story of teams suffering. Their run reminded me a lot of our 20.
Our cousins.
And I love Detroit. It's a city anyway.
For sure.
Shout out to the draft last year.
Absolutely.
So Jaylen Walker's going to the Lions. We're going to go with Washington, as I just mentioned, who beat them in the playoffs. They're at pick number 29. What are you doing here?
I think this could be a spot where you see I really do think Washington would like to have a corner here, but obviously we already have both Will Johnson and Jahdae Barron off of the board. I do think Trey Amos could sneak into the first round. Same for Nick Skirton. They have a need at both of those spots there. I think I wouldn't even be surprised if the Bengals had interest in Nick Skirton at 17. He just seems like the kind of player that they really like. And I don't know.
I'll tell you exactly what they do.
Yeah.
Them going out to get Tunsil, let me know that they're obviously serious about protecting. Yeah, they want to protect Jaden Daniels. I think they take Zabel.
Mm-hmm.
I think they play him at guard or put him at that other tackle. And they keep building those trenches as their division rival. I'm going to keep saying it because Philly is showing you the blueprint on how to win. The fact that they did not have to blitz Patrick Mahomes and could just go in coverage because their line is that dominant. I know that's the defensive side of the ball, but it's the same with the offense. You look at the Eagles' offensive line, that's the reason they were able to have as much success as they did. Everything was coordinated properly. I see the Washington was such a close relationship with them as far as seeing them twice a year, being division rivals, and just saying, you know what, we're going to take a page out their book and we're going to see if we can do it better. So I'd say Zabel goes at 29. As I mentioned before, this is where the sexy picks don't really matter or happen, but they help your team out in the long run.
Absolutely.
Because they're going to say North Dakota State, what are y'all doing? What the hell? We're at pick 30. We're almost at the end of the first round. 3 more picks left before we go through what we're going to do with the Bengals. But pick 30 with the Bills, what are you doing here if you are Buffalo?
Yeah, I really think this is another team that would like to have a cornerback. Also, I think they would like an edge defender, but they did just sign Joey Bosa, so I don't think they would go that route. So I'm going to go ahead and say Trey Amos goes here to the Bills at 30. They definitely need some help on that defensive side. I think it's definitely 100% going to be a defensive player for the Bills. I'm going to go with Trey Amos.
Yeah, Trey Amos out of Ole Miss. I think that's a good choice. I think that makes sense for them. Scorton could also be a candidate there. I can see him going, but that makes perfect sense. I don't think you take Pierce. If I'm a cold weather city, I'm not taking a guy who's not 100% in level football based on reports. Because you're not going to want to play in the cold when it gets to going. So
that's a fact.
I'm cool on that. I actually don't want to take that guy anywhere, no matter where I'm playing, but especially in the cold, especially with the first round pick. I'd rather trade it than do that. Those who should not be named are picking at number 31. I think after the Super Bowl performance, they definitely need to go O-line.
No question. I don't think there's any question.
Should they go Connerly out of Oregon?
Yep, that's what I think they
take. I think that's just obvious. I don't think they need to look any further. Connerly out of Oregon, tackle. He's going to go at number 31 to the bad guys. And then the Super Bowl champion, Philadelphia Eagles, are picking with the last pick, 100%. Not only them, but the team before them. I can see both of these teams trading out of the first round. You did mention some other people in our draft. Shador's still here, so there could be a lot of calls like, "Hey, let me go ahead and get him," as well as Dart and everyone else. Who are they taking? Eagles, if they are taking this pick with the last pick of the draft. Do they go? So in my eyes, they continue their process of going defense.
To be trench babies.
We're going to get Pierce or Scorton, or we say, hey, we like Burton. We think he's a weapon. We think he can go well. Who knows what's going to happen with A.J. Brown? Not saying he can replace him. They're not the same type of player. But, hey, another offensive weapon, we can go there. I think they go defense. Though,
I do, too. They still have Jahan Dotson as well. So I think Nick Skirton makes a lot of sense here. I honestly, just based on all the reports you hear about character, I think Pierce falls out of the first round, which is crazy to say, given that this time last year there was talks about him being in the first round, the first overall pick in this draft.
Yeah, first round mock draft. We are finished. All right. Went ahead and went through it. Keep it up on the screen for a second. I'll recap all of our picks, but the surprising thing I would say, if I'm looking at my board, is that we do not have any Shador going in the first round. So that can very much happen.
Yeah, one quarterback.
Yeah, one quarterback. Now, obviously, we didn't do trades like we did last time, but I could see him going late, but I don't think he's going 9. If he doesn't go to the Saints, as you see in our draft, it can get real tricky. Real tricky situation because not a ton of teams need a quarterback, or not even that. I just don't think a lot of teams are in love with him. Yeah. And that's going to be the biggest thing. So we'll see what's going on. As we revisit this, let's just briefly go through the Bengals picks for our first round, or excuse me, for our all 7 rounds. We're going to switch this up here. We're going to select the Bengals. We're going to go with that turbo speed for y'all so we can go through it. We're going to talk about who is left here on our draft boards. All right. We're going to go ahead and start this draft. Let the system do their thing.
Absolutely.
Maybe.
Oh, we got all the teams selected.
Oh, whoops. This is real time, y'all. Let's go back. What are we doing?
Mock draft similar to
oh, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. All right.
So, yep, there you go. 7
rounds. There we go. First time using the computer, y'all. My bad.
All right, here we go. Let's rock.
All right. So, as you can see on our screen, it is doing the same thing. Excuse me. Our same mock draft is matching up with what we're going on right now. Walter Nolan, who we want at 17, is still there. I think both of us are comfortable saying, let's go ahead and take him. If he's there, you got to take him at 17. It's like that's just kind of what it comes down to.
I think he's a top 10 talent.
100%. 100%, man. So you definitely want to go ahead and take Nolan at 17. I say at pick 49, all right, based on who is here now, Kevin Winston, in my opinion, would be the pick. It looks like the mock draft took. My bad. Let me scroll up. I just want to see where my boy Watts went.
Oh, yeah.
How far ahead did he go? Let's see what they did. They got him going at 39 to the. You mentioned that could be a spot for a DB. Makes perfect sense. If this holds true, right? If we look at who's available, and we have Winston here, we have Lott. I think you have to go ahead and go with.
You got Prince Human there. You got Demetrius Knight. You got TJ Sanders. Caleb Johnson is on the board, who the Bengals have shown interest in. Jared Ivory. Quinshawn Judkins, who the Bengals have shown interest in. There's been a lot of talk about Tate Ratledge going in the second round. So
do you go? It's a guy, I can't pronounce his last name, man, out of Arizona. He's a guard. Starts with the A.
Stavalea.
Yeah.
I think
he might be going.
I think he's going in the 3rd round, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I don't even see him on this board. I know I could search for him, but it's all good. What do you want to do with this pick, man? Are we going safety or are we going?
I think Kevin Winston Jr. makes a lot of sense here at 49. I wouldn't be mad if the Bengals went that route. In a perfect world, I would really like to go edge here because I think the edge prospects kind of maybe potentially fall off here a little bit after the 2nd round. So I could see Walter Nolan's teammate Princely as an option. Definitely think he's a solid get there. Same with his other teammate, Jared Ivey. But Kevin Winston Jr. is definitely a player that Bengals have shown a lot of interest in. If he wasn't injured last year, I think.
You also have a dislike for Penn State players.
I do have a dislike for Penn State players, but, sometimes you got to put the bias aside. He's a very different player than Xavier Watts is. He can help a lot in the man in those tight ends. He can play that nickel spot as well. He is still a deep safety, just not the center fielder that Watts is, but I think Winston makes a lot of sense here.
Let's go ahead and take him, man. 2nd pick. We had him. At least I had him. My mock had a safety going here. Not the one we were hoping on, but it makes sense. Now we're at pick 81 in the 3rd round. We have to address the offensive line here, right? You have to. I don't think there is a question about it. If we go old tackle, which we don't really need, you have a couple guys here. Field goal. There we go. There we go. Add them both up. Interior offensive lineman. Do we take is it Trapillo?
Ozzie Trapillo. Yeah, he. If you know anything about the Bengals love taking team captains. Ozzie Trapillo was a team captain. I definitely think he's going to be a tackle to guard type convert. Worst case scenario, he becomes your swing tackle. So I definitely do think Ozzie Trapillo could be a pick here. I also think Marcus Bowe could be a pick here. I think Trapillo being a team captain kind of gives him the slight edge, especially, wanting to continuously looking for leadership in this locker room. So I definitely think Ozzie Trapillo makes a lot of sense here.
High character guy. I'm with you. I'm rolling there. We have to address offensive line no matter who's there.
Mm-hmm.
We don't do it in those first 2 picks, which hopefully we do it in the second round if the safety situation doesn't work out. But I'm all for it. Here we are at pick 119 in round 4. We have a lot of different options here. What do you want to see us address here in the 4th round? Will we go back to the offensive line? Are we going to the defensive line again? Are we going to go ahead and get our linebacker here?
I think at this point you have to get an edge rusher. So as you see, we put together the defensive tackle spot. We've got the safety. We got the O-line addressed there. So in my opinion, I think you get Baron Sorrell here, another team captain. And where do you need a team captain? On that defensive line. You just lost Sam Hubbard. He also was kind of picked in this range. So I think Barron was a very productive edge rusher on a really, really good defense. And I think if you can get him here in this spot, I do think he could sneak into the 3rd round. But if you can get him here in the 4th, I think that's a great get for the Bengals.
I'm with that. Once again, I'm not going against anything you're saying right now because it makes perfect sense. Here we are right now through our first 4 rounds. We have Walter Nolan with pick 17.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Winston Jr. at pick 49. Ozzie Trapillo at pick 81. And pick 119, we have Baron Sorrell. We have 2 picks left in this draft. In a perfect world, as we have mentioned, hopefully there is a trade back and we can get another asset or 2, even if that second asset is for next year's draft.
Maybe we see Jermaine Pratt get traded.
See Jermaine get traded. Maybe we see Trey get traded. There's a lot of different options that we can go with.
Sure.
But we had 2 picks remaining here, pick 153 and pick 193, 40 picks apart. Pick 153. So we're going D-line twice with an edge and an interior. We're going safety, and we went with a guard. I personally, and I did this in our this is tough, right? I think in our mock I went with Seth McLaughlin. But we also have to remember I played around a lot and got 4 or 5 extra picks. So I did some things I didn't have the luxury. That's why I'm thinking about it so tough now. Seth McLaughlin is here right now at pick 153. I told you I think he can play center or you can convert him to a guard. However, I think we need to address the linebacker, and I think Barrett Carter right here is something that we could do because I'm not in love with one over the other that much. And I say I go need right here. We go ahead and get Barrett Carter at 148. Let's look and see what other linebackers are here just because want to make sure that we are on the same page with it and talk through all the options. But do you see anybody else? Kaiser out of Notre Dame, Kobe King. I think Barrett Carter's the obvious choice here, actually.
I really like Barrett Carter. I think Jack Kaiser obviously not as athletic, but has that familiarity with Al Golden. Barrett Carter has been in with a visit for the Bengals. They visited him with him at the combine. I think he makes a lot of sense here. I think he could be a starter, and I think worst case scenario, he is a special team star.
Fair. Here we are, pick 193, our last pick of the draft as of right now. What are we doing here at pick 193, our last pick of the draft? Are we addressing O-line again? Are we going with best player available? A lot of different options for us to choose through. I say we definitely go back to the O-line, in my opinion. What do you think?
I wouldn't be mad at that. I do like Connor Colby a lot. I also like Tyler Cooper a lot. I think both of those guys could be starting level guards. They played in the toughest division or the toughest conference in college football, in my opinion. I know the Bengals like Colin Oliver a lot. I think he could be a priority undrafted free agent. Same with Riley Mills, kind of continuing to add to that defensive line. Bengals also like Kyle Monagai a lot from Rutgers. Although, again, there's so many good backs in this draft, so many draftable backs. Will be some options following the draft, and the Bengals did just renegotiate that contract, restructure that contract with Zach Moss. So I don't see them taking a running back, especially if they just stick with the 6th pick. So
Yeah.
I'm open to either Connor Colby or Tyler Cooper, as I stated there.
I like Kobe more, in my opinion.
Okay.
I like Kobe a little bit more. We're gonna go ahead and take him.
Good deal. Let's
That's
see what PFS grades us. Let's see what kind of grade they give us.
Okay, then they're saying round 3, we should have done something differently. But our first and second round picks, we got A's. We got a B- for our 3rd round pick for taking Trapio. We got an A and A- for Baron Sorrell and Barry Carter. And in our last pick, a B+. Overall draft grade, A-. Not bad for a couple guys who just love sports and love the Bengals, man.
That's a fact.
Not mad at that at all. So we got an A- from PFF. I think you can do this 1 round for free. I don't think you can do a full mock. You have to have a membership if you want to do this.
I think you can do 2 or 3
on PFF. Yeah, 2 or 3 rounds. But if you do, there are plenty of free 7-round mock drafts that you kind of navigate through. And that's it. That's our episode for today. So we wanted to make sure we put this out on draft day. It's only right. Phil and myself will be enjoying the draft here in Vegas in a few hours.
Absolutely.
Outside of that, we appreciate y'all for tuning in. Let's go Bengals. We'll have a new episode next week, kind of recapping the draft, what we thought, everything that happened. We might be feeling a lot different here in a few hours. So we'll see how it goes. With that being said, enjoy your day. And hoo day.
Hoo day.